I have to admit that I'm addicted to dumplings. It's really true. If I see dumplings on a menu, you can be sure I'll order them. I'm no dumpling expert, and that's already led to a few surprises. One time, they were served with hot soup. Another time with sesame sauce or with vegetables. There was even one time when they were prepared with so much garlic that the whole restaurant could smell it. That's the problem with dumplings. There are so many varieties, and they are prepared in so many different ways. That is why I'm making this video. We'll take a look at dumplings from different countries and the ingredients that go into them. So stick around. I'm sure you'll learn a few new things. We'll start right away in China with xiaolongbao. These dumplings are pleated, and the main ingredient is in liquid form. Inside the thin dough, you'll find seasoned pork, sometimes combined with crab and a delicious meat broth. Now, this broth isn't liquid to begin with. That's how the chefs prepare it. When they start steaming the dumplings, it becomes liquid and essentially turns into a hot soup. The biggest mistake you can make is to bite into a fresh dumpling right away. You could burn yourself. Here's how to eat it. Place it on your spoon, make a small opening in the dough so the steam can escape, and then slurp up the broth first before eating the rest. That's why it's called a soup dumpling, and it's also a technical masterpiece. Let's stay in China a little longer with Jiaozi and Har Gow. Jiaozi are made by folding a round wheat dough wrapper into a half-moon shape and filling it with a savory filling. The most common or well-known filling consists of pork and Chinese cabbage. There are also other fillings, such as beef, shrimp, mushrooms, chives, eggs, and a variety of vegetables. They can be boiled, steamed, or pan-fried. I prefer them pan-fried because the bottom develops a crispy crust while the top remains soft. Because of their shape, dumplings are associated with the Chinese New Year, as the half-moon shape is comparable to ancient Chinese silver bars. For the Chinese, a large plate of jiaozi is a symbol of prosperity. For me, it's a good reason to eat the whole plate.
Har Gow is a clear shrimp dumpling. You often see them in dim sum restaurants. The dough consists mainly of wheat flour, combined with other types of flour, often tapioca. What makes it special is that after steaming, it becomes transparent and slightly chewy. When made properly, you can see a light pink filling through the dough. The filling itself usually consists of chopped or whole shrimp, bamboo shoots, herbs, and a little pork fat to keep it juicy. The dough is the key to success because it must be thin enough to reveal the filling, yet strong enough to be picked up with chopsticks. Making Har Gow is used to test a dim sum chef's skill. We'll take a quick trip to Japan, where we'll find Japanese gyoza, which has its roots in China, but has developed its own distinctive character. The dough is generally thinner, and the filling usually consists of a mixture of ground pork, cabbage, garlic, ginger, and scallions. Garlic plays an important role in these dumplings. They're prepared by browning them in a pan with the lid on. Then they're steamed and fried again to achieve a crispy bottom. The result is a crispy bottom, a soft top, and a juicy filling. They're served with a dipping sauce made of soy sauce, vinegar, and chili oil. In Korea, we find a variety of dumplings that are prepared in many different ways, with various fillings. A typical filling consists of pork or beef, tofu, cabbage, scallions, garlic, and glass noodles. Sometimes finely chopped kimchi is added, which gives it a spicy and tangy flavor. Mandu are steamed, boiled in soup, pan-fried, or deep-fried. You'll also find them in manduguk, a dumpling soup traditionally eaten around the Korean New Year. If you order these dumplings, do yourself a favor and try a variety of types. In the Himalayan region of Nepal, we find the popular momos. This classic dumpling consists of a wheat dough wrapper filled with ground meat. Buffalo meat is very commonly used in traditional Nepalese dishes. Chicken, pork, vegetables, paneer, and cheese are also frequently used. The main seasonings for the filling are garlic, ginger, onions, cilantro, and cumin. Momos are often steamed, deep-fried, or pan-fried. The sauce is what makes them truly special. They're usually served with an achar made from ingredients such as tomatoes, chili peppers, sesame seeds, or fermented ingredients. Depending on the recipe, this sauce can be smoky, spicy, sour, or all three. The flavor's often mild, and the sauce really brings out the best in them.
Georgian Khinkali are large, twisted and look like little fabric pouches. Traditional varieties are filled with beef, pork, lamb, or a combination of meats. Onions, black pepper, herbs, and water or broth create a juicy filling. As the dumplings cook, the meat releases its juices into the broth. You eat them by holding on to the thick, twisted top. You first slurp up the broth through a small hole in the side and then eat the dumpling. The doughy top, also called the knot, is often left uneaten because it can be thick and chewy.
Turkish Manti are much smaller than the large Khinkali, but this is made up by the fact that they are served with plenty of garnish. The filling for these small dumplings traditionally consists of seasoned ground lamb or beef and onions. They are boiled and served with garlic yogurt and melted butter, and their flavor comes from red pepper and dried herbs, including mint. Regional variations differ greatly from one another. Sometimes they're extremely small, while others are larger or prepared with different fillings. Some traditions consider making the small Manti to be craftsmanship. A test for talented cooks involves fitting as many pieces as possible onto a single spoon. This isn't easy, and if you're eating them yourself, you're better off using a larger spoon.
A well-known dish in Poland is pierogi. These are dumplings made from circles of dough filled with a filling and folded into a half-moon shape. Of course, there are variations here as well, but one of the best known is the pierogi ruski, which is filled with potatoes, cottage cheese, or quark, and onions. You can also find them with fillings of meat, mushrooms, sauerkraut, or cabbage. Sweet pierogi can contain blueberries, strawberries, plums, or sweetened cheese. They're usually boiled first and then fried in butter until lightly browned. Savory pierogi are served with onions, sour cream, or crispy bacon bits. Pierogi can easily become a full-fledged meal. We've come to a dumpling I've never eaten before, Pelmeni, which is of Russian origin and traditionally filled with raw ground meat. The filling consists of a mixture of beef and pork, and sometimes lamb, poultry, or other combinations are used as well. Onion, salt, and black pepper provide the additional flavor. The dumplings are boiled until tender and served with butter, sour cream, vinegar, mustard, or broth. Pelmeni are suitable for freezing, which is why they were primarily made in regions with long, cold winters. Their shape is simple, but that's precisely what makes them appealing. They're compact, comforting, and easy to prepare. And yes, I'd love to try them.
Unfortunately, now is not the time to travel to Ukraine. But if you ever get the chance, you can try Varenyky there. Potatoes are one of the most common fillings, usually combined with onions, cheese, mushrooms, or cabbage. There are also sweet varieties with cherries, berries, plums, or sweetened farm cheese. What makes this dumpling unique is that the filling is cooked first, along with the other ingredients. And once they're cooked, they're stuffed. This makes the final cooking process quick. They're served boiled and topped with butter, fried onions, sour cream, or small pieces of pork fat. Cherry-filled Varenyky can look like a stuffed potato. A mixed plate offers an exciting taste experience.
A samosa is often described as a pastry or snack, yet it belongs to the vast family of stuffed dough dishes. It is triangular in shape and is deep-fried or baked. In South Asia, the most common filling consists of potatoes, peas, onions, chili peppers, and spices such as cumin, cilantro, and garam masala. There are also variations with meat fillings made from ground lamb, goat, beef, or chicken. The exterior is firmer and crispier than the dough used for boiled or steamed dumplings. Samosas are often served with chutneys, such as sweet tamarind chutney or a fresh green chutney with mint and cilantro. Warm, colorful filling on the inside and so crispy on the outside that everyone will hear you when you're the first to take a bite.
Not every dumpling is filled with meat, vegetables, or something savory. Some are meant for dessert, and Modak is a good example. This Indian dumpling is closely connected to the Hindu festival of Ganesh Chaturthi. One of the best-known versions is Ukadiche Modak, which is made with a soft rice flour dough and steamed rather than fried. Inside is a sweet mixture of grated coconut and jaggery. Jaggery is an unrefined sugar with a deep, almost caramel-like flavor, although it tastes a little more earthy than ordinary brown sugar. Cardamom is often added, and depending on the recipe, you may also find nutmeg or chopped nuts. The shape is probably the first thing you notice. Modak are formed into small, pointed dumplings with pleated sides. They look delicate, but shaping them neatly takes some practice. Mine would probably look less like a traditional Modak and more like a small, damaged mountain.
There are fried versions too, usually made with wheat flour. Those are crisp on the outside and feel like a completely different dessert from the soft steamed version. Compared with a large meat-filled dumpling, Modak may look rather light, but coconut and jaggery make the filling rich, sweet, and surprisingly substantial. One may look small on the plate, but after 2 or 3, you will probably stop calling them delicate.
In Vietnam, we find Bánh Bột Lọc, dumplings made with tapioca dough. Their wrappers are firm, slightly chewy, and almost transparent, so you can often see the orange shrimp inside. The filling usually combines shrimp and pork seasoned with fish sauce, sugar, and pepper. Some are steamed in banana leaves, while others are cooked without them and keep that clear, glossy appearance. They are usually served with a fish sauce dip mixed with chili, garlic, sugar, or lime. The springy texture is what really makes them different. These dumplings have a proper bite, and you would never confuse them with ordinary pasta. Indonesian siomay began as a version of Chinese shumai, but over time it became a very different dish. The dumplings are usually made with fish, especially mackerel, although shrimp or chicken may also be added. The filling is wrapped loosely in a thin skin and steamed. But siomay is rarely served on its own. It usually arrives with potatoes, cabbage, tofu, bitter melon, and boiled egg, all covered in a thick peanut sauce. Sweet soy sauce, chili, or lime may be added on top. The dumpling may be the main attraction, but the full plate feels like a complete meal. And honestly, the peanut sauce comes very close to stealing the show.
Shish Barak are small dumplings found across the Levant, especially in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Palestine. They're usually filled with seasoned lamb or beef, onions, and spices, then folded into shapes that look a little like tiny hats or tortellini. What really sets them apart is the sauce. The dumplings are served in warm yogurt flavored with garlic, cilantro, or mint. The yogurt has to be cooked carefully because if it gets too hot, it can split. The result is a comforting mix of soft dough, savory meat, tangy yogurt, and fresh herbs. It feels rich, but not heavy, which is not something every dumpling dish can manage.
Whether an empanada is really a dumpling, a turnover, or a small hand pie depends on how strict you want to be. The basic idea, however, is the same. Dough folded around a filling, sealed, and then baked or fried. Across Latin America, the filling can change completely from one country to the next. Argentine empanadas often contain seasoned beef, onions, egg, and olives, while Chilean versions may also include raisins. Elsewhere, you might find chicken, cheese, seafood, beans, or vegetables. The dough can be made with wheat flour, or in some regions, cornmeal. So ordering an empanada tells you what shape your lunch will have, but not necessarily what is waiting inside.
We finish with a dumpling that is really an entire dessert wrapped in dough. An American apple dumpling is made by placing a peeled or cored apple on pastry, then filling the center with butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and sometimes nuts or dried fruit. The dough is folded around the apple and baked, often with a sweet syrup or sauce. The result is soft, warm apple inside a rich pastry shell. And unlike most dumplings, this one is not a single bite. One apple dumpling can easily take over an entire dessert plate. It proves just how flexible the idea of a dumpling can be. One can hold pork, shrimp, kimchi, potatoes, cheese, hot broth, coconut, or even nearly an entire apple. Across all 18 examples, the basic idea is simple. Wrap something delicious in dough, then steam it, boil it, fry it, or bake it. But the details are what make each one unique. The wrapper can be thin and delicate, crisp and golden, soft and comforting, or chewy enough to hold a spoonful of soup. The filling can be savory, spicy, sweet, meaty, vegetarian, or completely unexpected. So the next time you spot an unfamiliar dumpling on a menu, do not judge it by its shape alone. Find out what is inside, how it is cooked, and which sauce brings it all together. And before taking that first bite, remember one final lesson. Some dumplings are meant to be eaten carefully, because the difference between a perfect bite and a shirt covered in hot broth may be one tiny opening made with a chopstick. Which of these 18 dumplings would you try first? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more food journeys from around the world.